Hello, and welcome to Thursday. Welcome to Veganish. I am your host, Dr. Monique. I am your board certified family physician who you know as a physician in the kitchen. And here on this show, we talk about all things veganish. I bring you along on my journey toward a plant-based diet, and we learn and we grow and we share together. And he's back. So it's so good to see you, Ellis. Before we went on air, you all, I was singing a little bit of the Ashford and Simpson back together. I told him I like him too much so to sing the whole thing. But it's good
It
to
was
see
lovely.
you.
I'm telling you guys, she's got a melodic voice. I'm telling y'all, she's
Well, welcome back. Welcome back. It is mid-March, Thursday. So y'all know what today is now. Come on. March
St. Pat.
Madness.
It's March Madness. I was watching the game
Oh,
before the show. I ain't gonna lie. I was like,
my,
ooh,
my bracket is already busted. It's already busted.
Iowa, Iowa,
And I knew there was
Iowa.
going to be a 5-12. I just didn't pick that one.
There's another 12-5 going down right now. New Mexico is giving it to UConn right now.
Oh
So
man, yeah, it's this is one of my favorite times of year. I know y'all think like every other time she comes on here, she's talking about her favorite time. I have a lot of favorites, so don't judge me. So you know what we all do at this point of the show. We welcome you. We want you to drop where you are watching us from. We are changing lives locally, worldwide, globally. So please rep your city, your zip code, your state, your country. We'd love to know where you are watching us from. And because sharing is caring, please be sure to tag someone, tell them to come on in this house and fellowship. Y'all heard me say that. That's what my grandmother used to say. So we are going to fellowship in these next 30 minutes that are the fastest 30 minutes of my day. I don't know about yours. So let's see who we've got so far. So thank you so much. We got Belinda Murphy. Belinda, thank you so much for watching. And if you're watching this on the replay, please be sure to drop hashtag replay so we know that you stopped by. We've got the Joy, Motor City in the house. All right. All right. So Ellis, I'm excited about this show. I think we've got a lot to kind of get into. But kind of tell me when you saw what we were going to be talking about today, which is sugar really addictive? What thoughts did you have about that?
I thought my first thought was yes, right? Absolutely, it's addictive, right? And I've got clearly examples in my personal family that 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 shows it is addictive. Um, and then I thought about, okay, how do we break it? And that's how we break that addiction. And I think that's the tougher challenge. So that's the part I really was excited about today. It's like, okay, I think I got a pretty good idea that sugar is addictive, but the question is, how do we break that sugar addiction to where we have it and we eat it in more? We're going to eat a little bit of it, but natural sugars and in moderation. Because we did our show about sugar. That was one of the first shows we did. We did that three episodes.
Three-part. It was a lot. We talked a lot about sugar.
And so I felt so smart the other day. Somebody mentioned the glycemic index. They were talking about food, and I was like, I know what that is now. So if you don't know what that is, go back and watch those programs, and you'll learn all about the glycemic index, sugar content in food.
So yeah, you've touched on a lot that we are certainly going to discuss, and so I thank you all so much for joining. We've got Southern California has joined us, and then Patsy Graham Walton. I love and enjoy eating sweets. Join the club. You are amongst friends. This is your tribe. You have found your tribe. So we're going to talk about how because in my 20 plus years of practice, I never really told patients you can't eat this ever again. It really is about moderation because we're going to get into the science behind why we like sugar and is it addictive or not. And so the short story, like Ellis already said, is yes, in moderation. No, I can't imagine going through the rest of my life without something sweet, but it's how, just like everything else we talk about on this show, right? It's how you eat it. So Kansas City is in the house. All right, Midwest is like standing up tonight. Where Brooklyn at? Where's New York? Come on, y'all. Where my people at? This weekend I was in Fort Lauderdale. I got to see Mary J. Blige in Fort Lauderdale area.
Oh wow!
She was amazing as usual. And actually, I'm flying out to New York in the morning. So I come on now, East Coast. I got to see. East Coast is leaving us hanging tonight. So let's talk a little bit about, is sugar really addictive? So let's talk about the science, because on this show we really try to kind of balance, give you the science and let you make the best decisions based on facts, right? Not what my cousin Ray said or what you heard at the barbershop. We really want you to be informed, and so that you can make this. All right, South Jersey, thank you. East Coast is in the house. So let's talk a little bit about the science behind sugar. Like Ellis mentioned, we did a few shows on just the different types of sugar, what to look for in your labels, maybe even. But what about the science? So our brains are actually wired to function as using glucose as a source. Okay, our brains need a certain amount of sugar, and it also serves as a reward. Sugar is a rewarding thing. It kind of keeps you wanting more. And then if you keep eating it in excess, you're kind of reinforcing that, and it can be a hard habit to break. And as babies, sweet is one of the first tastes that we prefer, right? There's sweet, there's sour, there's bitter, there's salty, there's umami. Yes, I'm in culinary school. And so those are the flavors. So salt is the first flavor, sugar is the first flavor that we learned that we prefer as babies. And so carbs actually, we know, make our brains release serotonin, dopamine, opioids. All of those are feel good chemicals, right? Our brains release that. Even endorphins, which are a natural high, and we get that also from things like exercise and sex. So there is some biochemistry behind the sugar make you feel good. And on average, I had to bring a visual to show you guys this. And can everybody hear if I'm getting a lot of reverb? If you all can put in the chat, are you all able to hear me okay? Because it's,
I hear you fine.
you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I hear you fine.
Okay.
So y'all let us know, because I know I'm here.
Yes, please, because I'm hearing it,
Give
but
us
if
a
you all
thumbs
are not,
up or a thumbs down or
yes.
whatever, so we know.
Okay. So on average, Americans eat 17 to 19 teaspoons of sugar a day. And I bought a visual. So I measured out. So 17 to 19 teaspoons is about 6.5 tablespoons. Okay. This is half a cup. So this is half a cup of sugar. This is on average what people are eating every day. Every day. And so it equals about 285 calories for women. I'm sorry, 285 calories, and that equals about 77 grams of added sugar. So when you're looking at your food labels and you see added sugar, that's factoring into that. So the ideal amount is 6 teaspoons for women and 9 for men. So you see easily we're 2 to 3 times more what we should be based on our gender. Okay. So let's talk a little bit though about definitions, because we throw these words around, addiction and dependent, and they actually have specific meanings for us as physicians and in healthcare. And I want to make sure, I like making sure that we all are speaking the same language. Okay. So addiction is an actual disease. Okay. It's been recognized by the DSM, I think we're up to 4 or 5, I think so now, that results from abusing a substance. So if somebody keeps using that substance, despite the negative consequences, right? Losing your job, losing your family, losing your teeth, if it's meth, that person is addicted. However, that's not the same as some other terms that we're going to talk about, such as tolerance and dependence. Okay. So addiction has 3 phases. There's the binging, where you go out and just get as much of it as you can. The substance seeking behavior, where you go and get more. And then the habitual use of that substance, and then the withdrawal. And that cycle will repeat. So that's addiction, and that's the disease. Dependence is actually a physical thing, physical and mental changes that happen in the body when that substance is taken away. And that's known as withdrawal. So because you are physically, your body has gotten used to something, when you stop taking it, like alcohol, right? If you stop drinking suddenly, you get the DTEs, right? You start shaking and you can actually have seizures, and that can be pretty serious.
Right.
So that is dependence. But interestingly, you can be dependent and not be addicted. And the example I like to use is I have high blood pressure. I think I've shared that with you all before. When I used to have patients that I would tell them, okay, you need to start your own blood pressure medicine, they say, well, I don't want to become dependent on blood pressure medicine. I would say, I don't want to become dependent on somebody else taking care of me because I've had a stroke. So,
Mm,
yes, you can become dependent. Your body needs that medication, but dependence is not necessarily a bad thing, depending on what it is you're depending on. And I want that to be made clear. So, and then there are other times where, as doctors, we decrease the amount of medicine you're taking because if we stop it too quickly, then you'll have those physical symptoms. So, like if you're on an antidepressant and the doctor is stopping it, or steroids, you'll taper that medicine because your body can be physically dependent upon it. And if you stop it cold turkey, you may not feel so good. Okay. And then the last thing is tolerance, which is you're no longer responding to the drug like you used to or the substance like you used to. And you need to, you're chasing that first high. And so you have to take more and more and more. So that's tolerance.
I think caffeine is a great example for tolerance because you'll see you used to get that jittery feeling when you drank that your first cup of coffee or half a cup of coffee because you're just starting to get used to caffeine, or you used to drink the small can of Red Bull, and then the next thing you know, you're drinking Monster Energy drinks. You got the big gulp full of sodas because your body tolerance for caffeine has been built up to where right now it takes more to get to that same space you were
You are dead,
before.
spot on, spot on. And I just want to refresh you. If you all are just joining us, we are this is Veganish with Dr. Monique, and we are talking about sugar and can you be addicted. So please start putting your questions in the chat if you have questions about sugar or if you want to tell your personal experience. Please start putting those in the chat so we can get to those throughout the show. So then there's also something called craving, which is just typically happens when your sugar levels kind of spike and then they come crashing down. You're kind of looking for that next thing. And the example I like to use here is when you eat something simple, like a simple sugar, like, a bowl of Fruit Loops, right? An hour later, after that, your body has that sugar level has gone up, it comes back down, and now you're kind of looking for something else to sustain that feeling. So, and also interestingly, you can actually have um, mineral or vitamin deficiencies that can cause craving for sugar, such as zinc and chromium, iron, calcium, and magnesium. So that's interesting. If you are having serious problems with that, you might want to see your doctor to just make sure that some of those levels can be checked and make sure they're okay. So now that we've kind of got the table set as far as the science, now we've got the terms all kind of where we need to be. Let's answer the question: is sugar addictive? So put in the chat if you guys think it's addictive. Let me see a yes or a thumbs up. If you think it's not addictive, let me a nah, or is it addictive or not? Right. So drop it in the chat and let me know what you think. It's as I was researching this, it was really interesting to me because I remember again during clinical practice, I remember coming home like on a Friday after a long week, going to the grocery store and getting a Lindt chocolate bar. I'm a chocolate snob, and so there's a certain brand of chocolate I have to have, and I would look forward to that. Like that was my reward for making it to the end of this of a week, and I would feel happy. And so I definitely believe that there's some chemical changes going on in the brain with chocolate, which contains what? Sugar. So yeah, we're getting some yes. Somebody said yes. So people definitely believe it's addictive. So can eating too much natural foods cause issues of sugar? That's actually a great question. Uh, Short answer is probably, but it's the sugars in natural foods are better for you because they're actually combined with fiber and protein. And so those are not released. You don't get those spikes in the blood levels like you do with simple sugars. The best way to do that, again, talk with your doctor about it. And also if you have a glucose monitor, you can just check and see, eat a piece of fruit, an hour later, check your sugar and kind of see where that is. But great question.
Make sure you
So,
eat skin on like so without saying like you eat an apple, don't peel it. Eat the skin of the apple. That
oh,
will
right,
be
exactly. Yeah,
that
yeah,
will be the
exactly. Yeah.
fiber.
If you, the fruits that you can eat to find the skin,
Yeah,
definitely do that. Of course, not a banana or an orange, but right, like an apple
but
or,
but doesn't I mean when you peel the orange, but doesn't fiber included on those little pieces of the orange that you break
And
up?
I don't like those. I peel them off. I don't like them. So, so, so yeah, and if you're juicing that, right, you may get some of that benefit. But yeah, great question. So, is it addictive? So, just like everything else in medicine, I won't say everything else. Like a lot of things in medicine, I found some researchers say yes, some researchers say no. And the ones who say yes, let's start with the ones who say yes, because I think that's what people really want to hear. So there is this increasing theory that sugar acts in the brain like some addictive drugs, like cocaine and heroin do. And like we talked about earlier, by releasing those feel-good brain chemicals, serotonin, opioids, dopamine, that's where that thought process comes in. And they're doing more research on this. And bottom line, the jury is still out. More research needs to be done. But there's an increasing body of research that shows that excess sugar can be addictive as some street drugs as far as their effect on the brain. So they've done studies with a lot of these have been done with rodents. There have been some with humans and rodents. But when humans and rodents both, when they ate sugar, dopamine, which is a chemical that modulates or controls reward, the pleasure center,
Mm-hmm.
those levels went up. And we know that dopamine is the common denominator of a lot of addictive behaviors. So there's something there. There's something behind that. As you mentioned earlier about caffeine, Ellis, there's actually some thought, there's a school of thought that it may be a milder addiction like we see with caffeine and nicotine. But then there's also some that I came across that said, no, it's up there with cocaine and heroin. So, that's a big swing. If I had to be addicted to caffeine, I would not, I would choose that if I had to over being addicted to heroin. So that's a wide swath, so to speak. And so again, more research needs to be done. But the research has shown that some people believe it's more addictive than cocaine because it can lead to compulsive behaviors, despite the negative consequences, right? We said that was one of the hallmarks of addiction, right? Which is, this is bad for you, but yet you keep doing it. You can't control that. So it's going to make you gain weight. It's going to knock your sugars out of whack, and cause other problems, but you can't stop yourself. So that lends credence to the addictive behavior.
That's a good question from YouTube here. I'm gonna put it on screen because I want to look. I want to answer this question too. Hold up. Go ahead, Doc. Does drinking alcohol increase sugar in the body? Beer and rum
and other hard liquors. Yeah. They can. Again, it goes back to everything in moderation, right? But alcohol, I know not everything is bad, right? Everything that we like is bad for us. But alcohol has 9 calories per gram. Compare that to, I'm sorry, 7. It's 7 calories per gram. Compare that to fat, which has 9 calories. And not to get into too much chemistry, but alcohol has a lot of those carbon molecules and all that, carbon, hydrogen molecules, carbs. So yes, it can increase your sugar, and so moderation is key. So there was a study.
Mixing it. So if you're doing like a rum and coke, that the coke already has sugars and everything, exactly, all that in it. So you're doubling it up.
And rum is made from sugar cane, right? So right. And when we talked about sugar, we said tequila comes from the same thing as agave and tequila. Yeah. So there's some natural sources of sugar right there. So they looked at in Princeton in 2002, they did a study that showed if you deprived rats of food and water, of food for 12 hours, and then you give them food and sugary drinks, they binged on the drink. And then when they blocked their opioid system, they actually went through withdrawal anxiety. Now, how they knew rats were having anxiety, I don't know. I don't want to know. But that was the finding. The criticism to that study, though, the critique to that study was, well, you took away everything. So was it hunger? Or were they binging because they were hungry? Or were they binging because they really were missing sugar? So that still needs to be teased out. But the bottom line, what this shows us is that in people with certain predispositions, sugar can manifest as an addiction to sugar.
I
And
think
so the
that's
dream
the
is still out.
independence part, right? So I think that's the part where it depends on your personal constitution. So like we know that people that are the children of alcoholics have a tendency, are more likely to
Exactly.
have a propensity to become addicted to alcohol,
Exactly.
when somebody who isn't is less likely. So there is some sort of chemical makeup that you have individually. So this is why we can't say definitively that sugar is addictive, because I don't have a sweet tooth, right? But I've got people in my family that do that,
But do you like salty? Do you like salty?
I'm
Like
more
so,
I'm more of a salty. Yeah, I do like
see,
my
there you
potato
go.
chips.
There you go.
The
So
Ruffles original, I gotta have it.
So, and I'm so one of the areas of medicine that I'm so excited about is genetic testing, where we can do this personalized, take your DNA and analyze it and see what works best for you. And we're doing that in all across the medicine, from psychiatric treatment to cancer treatment to all the things in between. So, but yeah, so that's an exciting area of research. So now, but the take home point is, sugar in moderation, how you eat it, protein, complex carbs, fat, those types of things slow down the absorption of sugar. So we're not here to say you can't have any sugar, but we want you to be aware that if you know you have a certain weakness, don't keep it in the house, right? Don't go out and buy all the sugary snacks, because if they're not there, guess what? You can't eat them. So, so now let's get to the flip side, which is the scientists who say no. There's no such thing as this is not a thing. Move along. There's nothing to see here. So modern science hasn't validated this idea yet, but again, they are doing research and looking into fat and sugar addiction. So stay tuned for that. So again, they've done those animal studies where the rats binged, but it was hard to tease out what was really the issue. Was it just, were they hungry? I think of that Snickers commercial, right? Don't let hunger happen to you.
Right.
So because that's why we tell you not to go grocery shopping when you're hungry, right? Because your eyes are like this, and you just want to, yum, 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 everything. Um, and the other point that the naysayers bring out is that pleasurable doesn't necessarily mean addictive. So
Hmm.
something can be pleasurable, which is why we eat different foods, right? Because they taste good. They don't necessarily have to be sweet, but we don't want it to be like, oh, well, it's pleasurable, you must be addicted. No, not necessarily. Um,
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Just
okay.
you talked earlier about the science in terms of the release of dopamine, serotonin, and all these opiates and all those feel good things.
Yep.
Isn't that the same reason why many people get addicted to drugs? Isn't that the same reason you get this release, right?
Yes.
So drawing that's more of a line, an easier line to draw. And the only difference between the one is primarily illegal and one is considered illegal, and it's dropped in
Right.
everything, almost everything that we eat. And so therefore it doesn't have the same stigma as cocaine.
Hey, you
As
hit the nail on
cocaine.
the head. Exactly. It's readily available. It's why you can go to the grocery store and buy it instead of a back alley. Exactly.
So it's about pleasure, it's not about addiction, whereas cocaine is addiction.
Well, no. All my point with that was is pleasurable doesn't necessarily mean that it is addictive. Something can be pleasurable and you not be addicted to it because you're not exhibiting those other behaviors that go along with it. For example, when they did these rodent studies, when they would give them the sugary treat, but then when they paired it with an electric shock or a bitter taste, they stopped. They didn't continue. So that is not what we see with addiction. So that's the point that they're making there.
So what about
And
those people that get to like my 600 pound life, right? And they continue to eat sweets even when it's to their own detriment. That could
right,
be that is an addiction.
right. They clearly are the outliers, and there's a whole lot going on with them other than just So,
Right.
but no, I'm in the camp where I do believe it's addictive. I think the research is really starting to swing that way. I'm just laying out both sides and show those who say no, and then the ones again who say it's not addictive. They say that there's not an increased tolerance like you see with addiction, where we talked about you have to get more and more and more to get that same. You're chasing that first high, which the rationale behind that is it can increase your insulin resistance, which can lead to diabetes. But that, this one I'm kind of like on the fence about because, if you start off eating half a candy bar, but then you don't get that same satisfaction, so now you're eating the whole candy bar or 3 candy bars, isn't that tolerance? So,
one cookie turns to 3 or 4 cookies, turns to a pack of cookies, and so over
which
time,
again, if it's not announced, you can't eat it. So we've talked about this. So let's kind of wrap up though with how to fight these sugar cravings. Because now that we've got this information, yeah, I think the jury's still out, but I think it's leaning more toward probably that there is an addictive component. How do you fight these sugar cravings? So I've got some tips for you. Be given, just a little bit. If you're gonna buy it, buy the small amounts, share it. They've got the 100 and the 100 calorie packs of little snacks. Now, if you eat 5 of them, you kind of defeat the purpose. But those are portioned out for you so that you know what 100 calories is. Combine it with something healthy. So if you want some chocolate chips, eat them with some almonds or some walnuts or chocolate dipped strawberries. Something where you are still getting some nutritive value. Some people go cold turkey. Don't keep it in the house. Remove themselves from the temptation. Chewing gum can reduce food cravings rather, and we talked about which ones are vegan if you want to go that route. So and there's a question you mentioned carbs. I'm addicted to bread, so those carbs turn into sugar. Well, carbs are sugar. Carbs is sugar, and so yes, those carbs can it depends on what the bread is made out of. That's a great question because we advise or recommend staying away from the over-processed, the white breads, but the ones that are made out of whole grains, wheat, those complex carbs, the good sugars, right, that your body has to work. Think of it this way. Anything worth having, you got to work for it, right? Well, your body is kind of built the same way. If you dump in this whole half a cup of sugar, there's no work to be done here, right? I eat this, my sugar goes up, I feel blah an hour afterwards. I'm looking for the next hit, so to speak. Complex carb, I eat a couple of pieces of whole wheat bread and real whole wheat bread, not just something that's labeled whole
wheat bread. Brown bread, but like
not just brown bread. My body has to work to break that down. So that means that sugar is going to be released instead of doing this and it's going to gradually be released and go up. And that decreases craving, that decreases, unnecessary snacking, unnecessary weight gain, all that kind of stuff. So that's why the recommendation for what type of carb the bread is made from. So getting back to ways to prevent those cravings, fruit, right? We talked about fruit a little earlier. Fruit gives you fiber, right? It gives you the protein as well. So you want to make sure you're getting it in nuts or seeds. Dried fruits, but you want to be careful because dried fruits can be processed with tons of sugar. So if you have the option, do them yourself. Your oven, if you've got an air fryer, with the dehydrator feature, make your own dried fruits. That way you know how much sugar is in there.
Can I add one
yeah.
other thing? Is that give yourself some grace, right? So once you start this whole process, you're going to have this first initial like this is not sweet enough, right? So you're going to eat so if you're switching a cupcake, don't think that piece of fruit's going to give you that same kind of sugar taste in your mouth, on your tongue, or whatever. But over time, it's like cooking with less salt. At first, you're going to be like, this food is bland, but over time, your body's going to adjust. Your tongue, your palate's going to adjust. And then when you eat something that's really sweet or you eat something that's really salty, it's going to be, oh my God, you got to reject it. So you get conditioned to eat really sweet, really salty food. So you have to condition yourself to not eat really sweet food.
So yeah, Alice, you stole my thunder, but exactly. I was going to talk about retraining, but no, it's perfect. Retrain your taste buds. So cut out one sweet food a week. If you keep a food diary for 2 weeks, write down what you're eating, and you say, oh, okay, every night I'm eating, a pack of whatever. Cut that out for.
Candace, yes, it's being recorded. You can check it out. It'll be on my page. I'm sorry, that's a friend of mine from college.
Oh yeah, no, thank
yes,
you.
This is being recorded, and we're going to re-air it tomorrow as well. So
thank you. Thank you for asking that. Add less sugar to your coffee or to your cereal. And another thing I found very interesting, artificial sweeteners. Actually, the research I came across says don't use them or lessen how much because they actually do not lessen sugar cravings and in fact can make it worse. And they actually don't help with the obesity epidemic that we're seeing. So don't forget that liquid sugar, right? Don't forget what's in your cup. Because it's not just about what you can hold with your hands. It's what's in your cup. So the sodas, the lattes and all the extra sugar and stuff in them, the juices, all that stuff is a huge sugar, hit. So watch out for that too. And exercise, getting that feel like you want to, you're having a craving, try to change the scenery, go for a walk, exercise, do something to distract yourself, take your mind off of it. And then just real quickly, I just want to say, um, so that's if you get the cravings, how do you maybe even prevent them? So reward yourself for your success. Like Ella said, show yourself some grace. It's a process. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out your why for eating that package of lemon cookies. And Dr. Monique, I'm talking to you. So figure out your why for doing that, right? And then be mindful and intentional, like we have talked about on the show before. And then avoid emotional eating, right? That's a really big thing. Get some support, get talk at therapy. There's apps now on the see commercials now for talk therapy on your phone. Like you don't even have to go in to see somebody. So if you are doing emotional eating, please, please, please get to the root of that and talk it out. And then I do want to just I want to address just one thing, because people say, oh, if you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to get diabetes. It's not quite that linear.
Right.
So it's not like, if I sit here and I eat this half a cup of sugar, I'm not going to wake up diabetical tomorrow. That's not how it works. But over time, the more sugar you eat, what does that do? Lead to weight gain. Weight gain leads to insulin resistance, where your body does not use the insulin, that it's not responsive. It doesn't, the insulin is trying to talk to your muscles and your liver and your brain and the tissues, and the body's just like, yeah, no, I'm not really feeling that. So then the sugar levels go up because they can't go into the cells like it's supposed to. And then you become diabetic. So I just wanted to kind of close with that so people kind of understand the process. But I hope this has been informative. I've enjoyed talking about it. I thank you all so much for your questions. Ellis, did you have any?
I got one quick question. Talk about
Yeah.
sugar and inflammation. I know that's a bad word. Inflammation is always a bad word. Does sugar increase inflammation in the body?
Sugar and inflammation. That's a whole nother show. In fact, we should talk about that. The skinny on that, or the short version of that, it causes oxidative stress. Our bodies are bombarded every day with oxidative stress, sunlight, pollution, if you smoke, ultraviolet, all this stuff is trying to do damage to your cells. So sugar or it causes inflammation. It can accelerate that process, and so that's why we always talking about antioxidants,
Mm-hmm.
anti-inflammatories in the foods, because that helps to reverse some of that damage. And so yeah, I know myself. I have arthritic knees. I have the knees of an 80-year-old. I don't know what happened there, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm only like 25, so I don't know why my knees are that old. But I noticed certain things that I eat will inflame them. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but yeah, that's kind of the short answer. But that might be a good talk
That
for
might be
another
a
day.
good show because I know maybe just talk about inflammation. Yeah, I know we see that all the time. I've seen on magazine covers and all these different places.
Yeah, because
It's
it
not.
affects certain hormone levels, your
Mm-hmm.
cortisol, your insulin, all that stuff is, the human body is amazing. And so there's so many feedback loops and mechanisms and, checks and balances. And so when you introduce an agent that kind of throws that out of whack, the body tries to heal itself, it tries to compensate. And then when it can't, that's when disease manifests. So
And we'll learn in a couple of weeks that there is a cancer connection to all of these things. And so when we're talking about when we damage the cells replace itself. We do enough damage, that cell could be a damaged cell, and then it starts to replicate, and then that's how we get cancer. Right. So that's the short version, but we're going to learn very much in a couple of weeks. So stick with us. We got some
yes.
special guests coming up in a couple of weeks. They're going to really talk about how we can use food to fight cancer. So that's just a little tease.
So we got a comment. I developed prediabetes and I'm 5'1" and 100 pounds. Okay. Yeah, not everybody who's diabetic is obese. Um, but hopefully you're working with your doctor and they've got you seeing hopefully a dietitian. Because hopefully diet can be, if you're pre-diabetic, there is hope. You can
Yes.
there's hope if you're diabetic. I don't want to say it like that. But definitely this is the time to, your body is giving you that warning, hey, something's not right. And you make some changes and tweaks. Hopefully you can stem the tide and prevent any development of anything else going forward.
Work
But
with your
hopefully,
physician, please.
your doctor and the dietitian, hopefully.
Yes, work with your dietitian, work with your physician. But there's a lot of foods out there to help lower your blood sugar, regulate your blood sugar, things of that nature. But you got to be able to work. You got to know which works for you, and
Exactly.
really monitor that. Because if you're pre-diabetic, you have a wonderful, wonderful chance. All diabetics have a wonderful chance. But yeah, you
Oh,
got
good. She is seeing a dietitian. Good deal. Good
to.
deal. Yep. And be sure to, get your questions answered and make sure that you're seeing
And
someone
keep
who's
us posted on that. Come back and
yeah,
watch us. And keep us
definitely.
posted on that. We want
And
to know.
and make sure you're seeing someone who's culturally sensitive to dietary, because that's a whole that's another show topic, right? I mean, we talked a little bit about it for Thanksgiving, right? But we've got to be aware. We've got to meet people where they are, and so how do we still enjoy the foods that we grew up with, but yet do it in a healthier way. So I'm addicted to gummy bears. Used to be
My son
twisted.
is too.
I
Like
have it in myself.
he,
Yeah,
he can't
it's
walk past a Haribo pack without a dollar. I
those
promise you.
commercials creep me out though, with the people talking like kids. I don't, that's kind of creepy. But yeah, so again, Bridget, Michelle, if you know you like them, buy, buy the small packages. Don't keep them in the house. Let it be a treat to yourself. Things like that, so that you can still enjoy them, but you can enjoy them responsibly, like they
Or
say
buy
on
those
our.
really small. You ever see those really small Ziploc bags? Take your bag of gummies and put like 5 in one of those little penny bags, and then you just take one of those. So like you get
Right.
the feel good, the habitual endorphins, but you won't overdo
And
it.
you know what too? Freeze them, right? Because certain things like gummy bears, you probably can freeze. That way, you can't get to that immediately. Once it's frozen rock solid, you got to let that go out, and maybe by then you'll have forgotten and moved on to something else, or eat an apple, right? Eat a piece of fruit. I'm a big proponent on my kitchen counter. I keep a bowl of fruit. Apples, things, of course, that can sit out in room temperature. Apples, and wash them. Don't just put them on the counter. Wash them, because they are ready to go right then. You don't have to stop and do anything. So when you bring them home, take them out the bag, go ahead and wash them, so that when you ready to, or if you keep them in a drawer in the refrigerator, so they're easily, reach in and grab it. You want to eliminate any barriers, any obstacles to you making a healthier choice. So
And you know
that's
the
why.
number one cravings buster is
Hmm?
good. The number one cravings buster for me is good old water. So whenever I have those
Stay
cravings, I
hydrated.
have my water and I just drink some water, and I promise you,
You
it
are so
helps.
right.
It helps.
But yeah, because the way our brains are programmed, we actually often misinterpret thirst from hunger.
Yep.
And so by the time you feel thirsty, you're probably a little bit dehydrated. So that's an excellent point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because yes, water, definitely.
Yep.
So we're going to get out of here. But you guys, thank you so much. You have been so engaging. You've asked some excellent questions. Again, share this. If you're watching this on a replay, put hashtag replay. If you want to share this, tag your friends and loved ones. Um, I heard cigarettes have sugar and form of menthols. I don't know anything about cigarettes other than not to use them. So I
So,
can't
so
tell you if it's
let me tell you,
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it.
we have a Facebook Live coming up with truth.org about smoking. So be on the lookout for
That
like
will be
we
a good
got coming
question to
up.
ask them.
I believe it's this month. I want to say March 30th is the date of that truth.org. So we'll be talking about cigarette smoke and all the things that it can. So that's a great
I
question.
I
Make
would
sure you
not put it
ask that
past
question
them.
in that Facebook
I
Live. So
really
March
wouldn't.
30th, check it out, truth.org with Black Doctor, and we're going to be talking all about. We're going to be talking about the
I
e-cigarettes.
would love to hear the answer to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. My vote would be yes, because the cigarette industry is shady, so I don't. I wouldn't put that past them. Um, all right, so Bridget, Michelle, great, and then let us
Yeah.
know. Let us know how that works for you in future shows. I'd love to hear from your
We
success. We're
love to
gonna
get your progress.
really
So here's what I know we are way over our time, but here's what we want you to do. Anything that you've tried for this program, please give us a shout out. Let us know how you're progressing. When you come on the show, and we bring you on the show, right? So if you said, hey, I started a more plant-based diet and I've lost this, or my blood sugar went down, or whatever, over the course of you kind of following some of the advice we offer here, um, let us know. We'll bring you on the show. You can talk about your journey, because we're about the results. We want to give people great, information, and then you take that information and apply to your life with your primary, with your healthcare provider. But we want to hear about those results, because those are stories that inspire other people, and keep us all motivated in terms of eating healthier and living healthier lives. So whenever you want to share your story, let us know. Keep us up to date on your progress, and we'd love to hear about it.
Definitely. All right, guys. Until next week. You know who we are, Dr. Monique, your board certified family physician, who you know is a physician in the kitchen. Thank you so much for joining me on my veganist journey. And like you said, I'd love to hear your successes. And we're gonna get out of here. You guys enjoy March Madness.
About to go watch some more of these games, but I got to eat a piece
That's
of fruit.
right.
I can't drink like a water.
Yes. And please follow me, Physician in the Kitchen, on all social media. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks, everybody. Good night.